Welcome back. So it's the moment we've been waiting for. In this lecture, we're gonna learn how to create a lookalike audience from the custom audiences that we've now created, right? So the thing with lookalike audiences isn't that they're difficult to do. They're actually super easy to do. The difficult part is collecting enough information so that the lookalike audiences will be valuable enough, right? Let's dive in and we'll talk more about it. Right, so here we are, and as we can see, the sizes of most of these are quite small, and the biggest, of course, is going to be the website visitors, but even that is going to be quite small because we just set this account up, right? And we're using a lot of dummy information and dummy accounts here. So the key is that the more information that you have, the bigger the sizes are for your lead form audience, for your Instagram custom audience, for your video audiences, for all of your different audiences, the more precise the lookalike audiences will be, right? So the way that this system works is that when you are adding, for example, with the website visitors or what your email is, you take all of that information and then Facebook will match it with their system and then find those Facebook profiles from the info that you have added. Find those Facebook profiles and then turn them into an audience, right? Now, once you have that audience, when you're creating a lookalike audience, what Facebook is going to do is withdraw all the information that is in this audience to create a similar audience. So the more information that is in this audience, the better this lookalike audience is going to be. And that is a key feature. So that means that if we have very small sizes or very low quality audiences, well, we're going to have low quality lookalike audiences. But the reverse is also true. When we have a lot of purchases on our website and we have thousands of people who are buying from us, well, that means that we can create some seriously high quality lookalike audiences for those people who have a purchase intent, and that is amazing. So over time, your custom audiences are going to improve and your lookalike audiences are going to improve as well. In the next lecture, we're going to talk some more about just how these different sizes work. But for now, let's actually create our lookalike audience. So there are two different ways we can go about this. The easiest way is just to select any one of them. Let's select the Instagram custom audience here. I'm just gonna click on it and then I'm gonna click on create lookalike, all right? So now we have our Instagram custom audience here. That's the first step, to select your lookalike source. And that is the source, that is our custom audience as a source. And then we select our audience location. So what location do we want to create our lookalike audience from? And in our case, that is going to be the United States, right? Because we're doing a lot of targeting on the United States. So we're going to select that, and of course you can be more precise in everything. Now here is where you actually scale your lookalike audience. So first of all, how many lookalike audiences do you want? Generally, one is fine. And then how big do you want it to be, right? Now, as you can see down here, we have an estimated reach. So if you want to do the 1%, it's going to be 2.38 million. If you want to do the 2%, it's going to be 4.7 million. And if you want to go all the way up to 10%, it's going to be 23.8 million people, right? So here's the thing. The smaller the percentage is, the more accurate the lookalike audience is going to be. But also, it's a given that the bigger the percentage, the more people you're gonna get. But remember, our sweet spot is somewhere around 500,000 as audience size. So I'm gonna guess that in probably 95 to 99% of the cases, when you're creating a lookalike audience, you're gonna want to use the 1% span, right? Because the 1% span, so it means that it's going to be as accurate as possible, right? So this is going to be the 1% that is going to match as well as possible with our source, the Instagram custom audience in this case, right? So the 1% is going to be much more accurate than the 10%. And then once we're done with this, well, then it's going to be very simple. We click on create audience and there we go. Lookalike US 1% Instagram custom audience. Here we are, right? And as you're gonna see in a little while, the size of this one is going to grow. Remember, we already got an estimated reach, but it does take a little while they're still populating, right? So this can take half an hour or longer before the size shows correctly. But this is how you create a lookalike audience. Very simple. Now, the other way we can do it on, rather than selecting one of these and clicking on create lookalike, is to simply go to create audience and go down to lookalike audience. Because here we can select a different source, right? We can click here and then we can select our pixel. Now, the benefit with selecting our pixel is that we understand the behavior from people on our website because we are tracking them on our website, right? So that means that if we have people who are purchasing products on our website, some of those people are going to have higher value than other people because the people who are purchasing are going to be more valuable than the people who are just visiting our website. So that means that we could select those people specifically that has a higher value and then target only them and create a lookalike audience from them. And that is going to be super effective, right? We can also, rather than focusing on purchases, we can use events. Now, we haven't gone through events yet, but we will learn how to set up different events and create conversion ads and all that good stuff. So other events is going to be, for example, those who added in payment info, those who added to cart, those who added to wish list, those who initiated checkout, etc., etc. These are all different events on the website, those who did a search, etc., etc. So we know also that certain events has a certain value because, for example, a lead, if you've done your calculations effectively, it's going to have a certain value to you because you know that a certain amount of lead is going to convert into a certain amount of purchases. So that means that those leads has a certain value based on the purchase and conversion rate. You don't need to know all this stuff, but if you do, you're probably following along. So that means that we can add in other events and then understand the value from there. But the easiest and most common is going to be to work from purchase. But here's the thing, you're probably going to want to have at least 75 or up towards a couple of hundred or 1,000 purchases before this becomes properly effective, right? So in the very beginning, these lookalike audiences aren't going to be that good, but they're going to be a starting point. So as you are optimizing, as you are growing and becoming more effective, so will your audiences, so will your conversion rate, so will your costs go down, etc. So everything just gets better over time. And this is what I spoke about earlier in this course with the pixel being your best friend, because the pixel is what's going to be gathering all of this information and helping you with this, right? So then once again, we select our audience location. Let's select the United States, just like this. I'm gonna click there, all right? And then I'm going to select the audience size, all right? So we can do the 2.4, we can do the 4.7, etc. So it's completely going to depend on what you have to work with, but it's going to be 1% of your pixel that's going to be the most accurate, right? But if we go higher, we're going to get a broader audience. So once we're happy with our size, we're just going to go ahead and click on create audience. Now also remember, you need to have at least 100 people in your pixel in this case, or in your custom audience before you can create the lookalike audience from that. Now, you probably want to have at least between 1,000 and around 50,000 and above to create some effective lookalike audiences, right? So what we can also do once we've decided for this, we could go ahead and create this audience, but we don't just have to create it from the pixel, right? Now, those are value-based sources, and they are value-based because we understand where the value comes from because we're tracking their behaviors here. And right now, because the pixel is new, we don't really have much value, but if we did, we could track those and use them. What we can also do is we can remove this and we can go into other sources here. And not only are you gonna see the custom audiences here that we created, but you're also gonna see that we have our pages here, right? So we have Robin and Jesper, for example, one of our page. So we could use our page as a source, and we could use this, for example, and we know that Pakistan is one of our biggest countries, or rather the country with the most people who follow our Robin and Jesper page, at least when we started out. Now we have a lot more from the States. So once again, if we're going to be targeting Pakistan and creating a lookalike from Pakistan, well then once again we get to decide on the size here, right? We're just gonna pull this one up if we want it bigger, and then we're just gonna pull it down if we want it smaller, right? We have to let go in order to see what the size is going to be. But once again, we can get away with the 1%, and pretty much we're always gonna want 1%. And here this would be the perfect size as well. Now, if we are using another country like we did before, like the United States, just like this, well then we're gonna have different results, and that goes without saying because the United States is much bigger. Now, once again, this is gonna get better as you go because you're gonna get more data, and the more data you get, the more data Facebook has to work from, and the better the lookalikes are going to be. So once I'm happy, I'm just gonna go ahead and click on create audience, and then the audience is going to be created, and then I have yet another lookalike. So as you're gonna see right now, it says populating, right? Audience is populating, and it says that for all of these. So it's gonna take up towards or well, rather between 6 and 24 hours before these are properly populated. So we have no idea where these are going to end up in yet, right? So that's going to be exciting. So whenever you create a lookalike or a custom audience, you have to allow for up towards 24 hours to properly understand how big they're going to be. So take, for example, all website visitors. That might be pretty big because we've put the pixel on a site that gets quite a bit of traffic, right? So that can grow pretty big. Now, another thing to remember here is that a lot of these custom audiences are actually going to grow over time, and they're going to continue to be populated. I believe Facebook updates them between every third and seventh day somewhere, right? Because here, for example, in your Facebook page engagement custom audience, well, you're going to have more people who are engaging with your Facebook page. So that means you're going to have more people who are going to be populating here. So that is going to grow over time. Now, that's true for your Instagram as well, for your shopping view, etc. But that is not true for your MailPoet email list, because that was a separate file that we uploaded. So that is a static file. That file doesn't change, but these are all constantly changing, especially our website visitors, because we're getting more traffic all the time. So that means that whenever we use all website visitors, that's going to depend how many we have, depending on how much we have gotten lately and within the time span that we have set, right? So none of these are set in stone unless they actually are set in stone, like the MailPoet list, for example. Now, the great benefit with importing from MailChimp is that because you're importing it, they are also synchronized. If you are growing your list on MailPoet, you're also growing your list here because they are now synced, right? So that is worth remembering. And the MailPoet is not, because that was a document we uploaded. So at this point, you understand a lot when it comes to audiences. You understand custom audiences. You know how to create lookalike audiences. You know what the best lookalike audiences are. You know how to use them properly. Next up, in the next video, which is going to be the final video of this section, you are going to learn how to use this different audience in your ads, right? See you in the next lecture.